Craig, I feel like the sanctuary is his baby. Like he's been there for so many years after our previous director. He cares so much about it. It means everything to him.
I can see how much he cares for it every time he's in there. He treats it like it's his home because, I mean, it is. He's the director of it. He's in charge of it. And I know when he talks about it, he talks about it with a lot of passion.
It means the world to him. Honestly, without the wildlife sanctuary, he'd probably just be another boring biology teacher. He'd still have his humor, but I think both the wildlife sanctuary and him, they bring out the best in each other.
I don't know if you can hear that voice. That's the sound of a bullfrog. He's got a voice even worse than mine. 35 years ago when I first came, I thought there was a cow in here because it's going roar, roar, roar. But it's a bullfrog. They're about as big as your head. Oh my goodness, he's making noise in the background. I hope you can hear it. Well, I've been teaching here for about 35 years. Started back in the late 70s. Teach environmental biology, Bio 6, lecture and lab, and also human sexuality. So I'm really lucky because I teach two real popular courses, sex and ecology. And so I'm also the director of the Wildlife Sanctuary. Been doing that since 1980. And also faculty sponsor, one of the faculty sponsors for the Eagle Club Environmental Action Group for a Livable Earth. Oh. And so been teaching here for a long time. 28 years ago, I had my first case of vocal cancer where I got hoarse and they went in and had to remove a growth on my vocal cords. Stopped teaching for about 6 months, but the voice came back and I was good for 20 years. And then 2008, another cancer came back. This time they had to remove a third of the vocal cord, which gives me my raspy, sexy voice. My wife thinks it's sexy sounding. I don't know about that, but and in the classroom I've got a microphone, remote mic that I can wear, as well as in the field I have a sound box, and so I just enjoy teaching. I feel privileged to be here at Mount Sac and be exposed to all these fine young minds. When I got cancer, meaning I was 38, 39 years old when it first showed up, and the first thing is the real psychological hit. Why me? I'm not a smoker, I'm not a drinker. This is an old man's disease. Why does it happen to me? Something wrong with the immune system. I guess the best thing is that I went for, got the first opinion, and they said that I should immediately remove the entire vocal mechanism and lose my voice completely and stop teaching at Mount Sac. And like I said, that was 28 years ago. And I'm glad I went for a second, third, and fourth opinion. And a young doc from UCLA said, hey, let's try some intensive radiation. Being an environmental biologist, I know that radiation has some really downsides, but we went for it. They gave me a little tattoo on the neck, and I went for 6 weeks of radiation, intensive radiation, and that got rid of the original tumor. 20 years later, another tumor came back. That was much more serious. I told the doctor I really wanted to continue to teach, and he says, well, that's a very personal subject or personal decision, because your voice will not be the same, and some people would not want to do that. But I wanted to. I tell my students that the most important moment of your life is not birth or death, but it's right now. And so you got to be positive with cancer, and you got to get second and third and fourth opinions, and you got to take care of it because it's a serious situation. Certainly, my wife, my brother, my family, people at school were awesome. I had to take off for a semester immediately, and the faculty here at Mount Sac, the biology department, stepped in. The school was supportive because we have good health care, and so it was all around. And then students were supportive too. So it's just nice. You don't want to do cancer by yourself,
right.
And that's why I'm always open about it. A lot of people try to hide it, but I think it's good to talk about it. I think it's good to get support from wherever you can. I met my wife here at Mount San Antonio College. She was student here and actually had my class way back when. Then she transferred to Cal Poly Pomona, got her degree there. We finally reconnected up, and she's been my earthmate ever since, and just love her dearly. Yeah, the wildlife sanctuary, which is started out as 10 acres and is now about 25 or more acres, is all done on volunteer. All the maintenance is done with volunteer, with students. It's amazing what extra credit can do. Students will do lots for extra credit for those 10 or 15 points. I've been an ardent supporter of preserving the wildlife sanctuary since I've been director for since the 80s, and there's been lots of people that have wanted to do other things to it, with it, and so we've had to keep a vigilance. And the school has been very supportive, as long as we're using it for educational purposes, that it should stay a wildlife sanctuary as opposed to becoming a McDonald's or a parking lot or something different. But there's that constant threat all the time.
In 2009, both the federal government and the city of Walnut decided that the intersection between Grand and Temple Avenue needed expansion, but the only way to complete this project was to cut into Greg's baby, the wildlife sanctuary.
I was adamant about not losing wildlife sanctuary. You see, on Earth we're in this biological holocaust where we keep losing habitat. So we didn't want. So what the school and the biology department did was that we had talks and we did a mitigation, which is like a legal compromise. And the school said, hey, if you will let us take 1 acre of the wildlife sanctuary at Temple and Grand Avenue to expand some lanes, we will mitigate, we will give you 15 acres on the east side of the wildlife sanctuary, which includes Mount Sac Hill, as well as the stream side riparian area going to Snow Creek. And so we said yes to that. So the sanctuary was 10 acres, went down to 9, but back up to 25 acres. And so that was a pretty good mitigation.
In 1993, a chlorine spill found its way into the Mount Sac Wildlife Sanctuary, killing everything in the swamp area.
Well, we're standing right in the middle of the chlorine spill area. This is the swamp. And what happened is that there was a discharge from a pipeline that was being put in, a cleaning of a pipeline, high intensity chlorine, that they discharged it into the street, which ran into the storm drain, which runs right into the wildlife sanctuary. This particular body of water, it killed everything that was in the water. I'm talking about all the fish, all the turtles, all the microorganisms, everything in the mud was dead.
The city of West Covina was found responsible for the chlorine discharge and came to a settlement with Mount Sac for $53,000 in damage.
So what we had to do was do a dredge of this. We took down the bridge we're standing on, and we had to take out about 3 feet of mud and remove all the vegetation and re-jumpstart this particular environment. So we did that. What turned out was going to be like a 8-week weekend project turned out to be a 5-year project. It was intensive, trying to take down a bridge and pour concrete for the posts that support the bridge, and to get tractors in here and to get them unstuck. It was quite a project, but students and faculty came together, and in 5 years we recreated the swamp. I'm hoping that long-term the wildlife sanctuary continues to be the secret jewel it is, because we are one of the few colleges in California that has this size of a wildlife sanctuary. I'm 67 years old and probably should have been out of here years ago, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm enjoying hearing the frogs in the background. I'm enjoying dealing with great students. It's a challenge with the voice. It's a challenge with the age, but I've always said that working at a community college, the cool thing is that the students all stay about the same age. my friends and the people I work with all about the same age, and so it makes you young. So I'm only really about 23 years old myself.
Okay.
This is probably one of my favorite views of the sanctuary: the water, the rocks, the bridge, and it's just such a beautiful sight, and it changes all the time. If and when we get out of this drought, a little rain will hit this water. It'll turn bright green from the algae for a few days, a week or so, and then change back again. Boy, listen to those bullfrogs. They're calling for a mate. I think they're calling me. Maybe I should go mate with the bullfrogs, huh?